we go. Hello, everyone. Today, I'm going to be leading this group. I'm Samantha. Welcome to our first session with Chesapeake Counseling. I want to thank you all for coming and having this permission slip signed for me and remembering it to bring it with you on this first meeting. I'm going to start this session by reviewing this permission slip with you guys. So I'm going to share my screen now so you guys can all see it. Okay. Is it pop up? Can you guys see it on your screens?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So this basically is just like an overview of what we're about and what you guys are going to experience while you're here. Chesapeake Counseling is inspired by the unprecedented life events brought on by the pandemic. Our team is here to make sure you have the additional support that you need during these trying times. This group was developed with the purpose to help you learn new skills and discover common issues other high school students are having. Since the beginning of the pandemic in 2020, over 500,000 lives have been lost in just America. There is a lot of grief to deal with. Here, you will receive support processing grief and other emotions relating to this pandemic. The following activities are going to be used in future sessions, and they are called Concerns and Strengths, Make It Happen, 5 Stages of Grief, Schooling Through the Pandemic, and then there's going to be several others. So next we're going to talk about confidentiality, and that is also on this permission slip I had your parents look over and sign. And it's going to be this section right here. So the limits of confidentiality are outlined. Although what is said in this group will stay in this group, I am still a mandatory reporter. That means that if anybody talks about being abused, or if they say they want to hurt themselves or they want to hurt others, I'm required to report that. Does anybody have any questions about that?
No.
Okay. Okay, so now we're going to go over the rules of this group. So as I said, what happens in this group is going to stay in this group. Please do not share stories discussed here with people not in this group. This is a safe place to share, and this rule keeps it that way. Anyone who breaks this rule will be asked to leave the group. Only one person speaks at a time. Do not interrupt anyone that is sharing or talk over anyone. And finally, we must follow current CDC guidelines on social distancing. So this is for any in-person group meetings that we're going to have, like this meeting's on Zoom, but this is just rules for if we were to have an in-person meeting. So we would be seated 6 feet apart, and we're going to be wearing our masks if we're inside a building. And like in the event we are wearing our masks, please remember to speak loudly and more clearly than you normally would so we can all like hear you still. And there are any questions about those rules?
No.
Okay. All right. So for this next part, we're going to get to know each other a little bit. We're going to introduce ourselves to each other. So for this activity, I would like us to go around in the circle and state your name and the biggest change or challenge the pandemic has had for you. So I'll go first. Again, my name is Samantha, and for me, my biggest challenge of the pandemic has not being able to like spend time with like my family or like my loved ones or anything like that. So who would like to go next?
I can go. My name is Haley, and I think my biggest challenge since the pandemic was having to work remotely. I used to work in person, and now because of the pandemic, I have to work from home now.
My name's Jose. I think my biggest challenge is having to do schoolwork through online. Usually someone who likes to learn face to face, and having to do it over a computer has made it harder. And I feel like I have to teach myself at times.
Thank you, Jose. Who's next?
Hi everyone, I'm Molly. I was actually going to say the same thing as Jose. I have struggled with school being online a lot. I like learn better in the classroom too and being in person, so that's been the biggest challenge for me as well.
Okay, thank you, Molly. All right, anybody else? Who's next?
I agree with Haley and Jose. I think learning online, especially through my last year of school, has been really tough for me, and I'm definitely more of a hands-on person.
Wait, thank you, Shelby. Anybody else?
My name's Tyler, and I have to agree with them as well. It's been tough for me because sometimes I struggle with classes, and it's the resources aren't available to reach out for help.
Thank you, Todd. Anybody else?
My name's Ben. I think my biggest struggle has been wearing the mask, honestly, just for the simple fact I have sensitive skin and it irritates my skin.
Right.
That's probably about it.
Anybody else?
I'm Kathy, and I guess the biggest challenge for me is that I'm not able to see some of my family that I have older parents, and I'm not able to see them.
Right. Awesome. Like, so like we already have a bunch of stuff that like we have like in common. Like there's lots of issues about, like school and like all the changes, like what Ben said with the masks, like, and this is something that we all really like have to deal with. So it was really nice to hear from everybody for the introductions. Like now I would like to go around the room again, but this time I would like for everyone to describe what they hope to talk about in this group, or what you hope to get from this group in the future. Like what kind of topics do you want to discuss, or what do you really think that we should focus on in your opinion? Anybody can go.
I'll start. I think that one thing I want to work on within this group is ways that I can achieve my goals in education. As like everybody else said, it was and has been hard to learn remotely when we're all seem to learn in person. So I think my main thing is to learn about ways that I can maybe go around and work better on my education online.
Then like Haley, it's great that you mentioned that, because in one of our future sessions, we're actually going to do something that's called Make It Happen. And for this, we're going to go over education goals and map out kind of like how we want to achieve them. So that's like really great that you bring that up, because that is something that we already had planned to go over. Is there anybody else that has anything that they like hope to see in future sessions?
I can go. Go ahead, Molly.
No, it's okay. You can go.
Are you there? All right. So one thing I would like to learn is I know everybody else in the class works as well and has to go to school, and I think a lot of times we struggle with finding time. Sometimes you just get off work and you just feel like you don't want to do any work.
Yeah, like
So
time management.
yeah, so I would I would like to learn how to manage time. And
That's a good idea, Jose. That's something that we can totally work in as well, because that also aligns with like stuff about like the goals with school and stuff. So time management totally slides right on in. Like anybody else have anything that they wanted to talk about in the future?
I think for me, just finding like some positive resources. Like, like I said, school's been hard for me. So maybe just like tutors that I could reach out to or something like that, just in the pandemic, resources that could help me out. I think that would be something that I'd like to cover if
Yeah,
that's
that's
not.
another great idea, Molly. Like, thank you for that one. Like, that's also something that we could like totally work in, because like we do need extra help with some stuff sometimes, and tutors, like there's available sources for that. Like in person, I'm not sure, but online, I know that's available. Anybody else have anything to say about that? About anything you want to talk about in the future?
I think we should also talk about like losing people during the pandemic, because like you said, there's been a lot of lives lost. So I think that we could all learn from that, either for what's already happened to us or maybe like even for like the future if it does happen to us, so we know what to expect.
Yeah, and Shelby, like we're actually going to talk about that in this session. So thank you for mentioning that. I'm going to use that as a segue to this next part of this session. So we have gone over the rules. Everyone's gotten a chance to learn a little bit about each other. And now, like going off of what Shelby just mentioned, I would like anybody who has lost someone to COVID-19 to please raise their hand right now. So I'm raising my hand because I did lose someone from COVID. Thanks. Thank you, everyone. Like, I'm sorry for everyone's loss. Like, this is something that like is going to be a definite focus because grief is something that has definitely tied in with this There's been a lot of unexpected loss, like people that were supposed to be here aren't here just because this disease. So that is definitely an important emphasis that Chesapeake Counseling is going to have when working with you guys. So I am going to share my screen again. I'm going to give you guys a kind of like a thing to take home with you. It's going to be called a goodbye letter. Now I'm going to share my screen with you guys so I can show you the goodbye letter. Okay, so can you guys all see that? A lot going on my screen. Okay, so this is like the basic concept. So just like think about that person you lost if you did lose someone, and basically like you're saying goodbye because saying goodbye makes me feel. It's just a basis to start thinking about the stages of grief to get going. And even if you didn't lose anybody, there's other types of grief that you can feel. Like if you're grieving something that you really like, you can't do anymore just because the pandemic. It doesn't have to be a person. It could be a thing, like something that you used to do, just anything you could think of that you lost. Grief can be a lot of different things. So now that like you guys all have this letter to work on, it's going to be like a homework thing. And so I just want you guys to like take a moment of silence, kind of like just like reflect on what you want to do your letter about, like moment of silence to those we lost. And we're just gonna like keep it close, like think to ourselves just for like a couple seconds. Okay. All right, so before we meet again, I would like everyone to think about what was discussed in this meeting. I would like you guys to think about what you want to work through in future meetings. Like, did anybody say anything in this meeting that you really related to that really like makes you like hopeful for the next sessions, really wants to keep you coming back? Because my hope is for us to really be able to help each other by opening up about our struggles from this pandemic. And I want to thank you all for coming, and I hope to see you all next time. And the end. That's the end of mine.